Welcome. Let's start by focusing on Italy, which is currently the worst affected from the coronavirus outbreak. Exactly 1 month ago, Italy had just 4 confirmed coronavirus cases. Since then, the infection has grown at an alarming rate in the country. And now, the COVID-19 fatalities in Italy have surpassed China's death toll in a matter of 30 days. In the last 24 hours, Italy reported 427 new deaths, taking the death count to 3,405. In comparison, China has reported just over 3,200 deaths so far. And for the second consecutive day, there were no local cases reported. In Italy, the situation is so bad that the army was called in to deliver coffins to the northern part of the country. In the city of Bergamo, burials were spaced 30 minutes apart to stop the contagion from spreading. Now, it's too early to say whether the infection has peaked in Italy. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has extended the countrywide lockdown but ruled out any additional restrictive measures. He has announced a €25 billion economic stimulus package, but that could very well prove inadequate. The Tourism Operators Union is expecting the number of foreign visitors to drop to levels last seen in the mid-1960s. Now, we are joined live by Stuart Smith, who is live in London, for more insight on this. Good afternoon to you, Stuart. What is the current situation? Let's start with Italy. As it stands in Italy, it has been very hard hit, and the death toll has overtaken that of China.
Yes, that's right. Measures only getting more strict in Italy, and indeed the death count rising, and nowhere near a peak most likely, but the government cannot yet rule that out. It's quite a similar picture across the rest of Europe. Spain, France in similar lockdown measures, Spain particularly struggling, and many, many more deaths there, and quickly catching up on the back of Italy as well.
We believe the situation seems to be going in the same way in France, where they've also seen a huge increase in fatalities overnight. What measures are being implemented there?
So more lockdown measures, particularly people are getting more and more concerned. Yesterday we heard that 300 Amazon workers found out that they were not being given enough protective equipment. So measures to try and help workers who are not being given personal protective equipment, but no sign across the whole of the continent yet, as for any country, of any kind of let-up.
Stuart, what are the latest updates that we are getting from the UK at this time?
Well, we've had restrictions in place in the UK since Monday. They are still just advisory restrictions. They are not mandatory and they're not being enforced. The advice is to stay at home if you're feeling any kind of symptoms for 7 days, and 14 days if anyone else in your home is feeling those symptoms as well. People can still go to the shops, still go to the bars, clubs, restaurants, but they have been advised not to do that, which has caused a bit of a problem for those businesses who think they have to stay open to try and recover losses, but people aren't turning up. Transport restrictions are in place to a small extent. There are fewer services running, but they are still open, and cities and the rest of the country is still open as normal, just with the caveat that you should stay inside if at all you can.
And with the borders in the EU zone, what is happening between countries? We've seen some countries closing their borders. What is the latest there?
Yes, so the European Commission is trying to do all it can to avoid countries imposing border controls within the Schengen area. That's the freedom, the movement, the area within the European Union where people can move between countries with no border controls. The EU would much rather that there's one very strict border around the outside of the bloc, but between countries things can carry on as normal. Not every country has responded to that, particularly in the eastern side of the continent. Many countries there still closing their own borders, but certain Western countries like the UK have kept their borders open, although citizens are being asked not to travel.
Stuart, thank you very much for that report. That is Stuart Smith joining us live from London for the latest on the COVID-19 epidemic there.